Hey guys, we're going to start today's adventure from this old building that looks like it used to be an old schoolhouse. So it's used by a farmer to store stuff now. It's on the Castles and Old Buildings playlist, probably called something like the Old Schoolhouse, something like that. Any of these videos that get mentioned in other videos, you can usually find them if you search on the search box of the channel page. So in this case, Schoolhouse, you probably get something. Or if you go to the playlist, the Castles and Old Buildings playlist, you'll find that one. So it's sort of interesting. It really looks like an old schoolhouse inside. They've clad it with that old metal on the outside. They tend to do that with the old buildings just to protect the mud walls from the weather. It's sort of an easy solution instead of recovering it with wood again. But inside's still pretty original. It's pretty cool. But the farmer just uses it to store his farming stuff in there. We'll have another look at it as we go past it. We'll have a look at it from the more pretty side. Whoa! Sorry about that. Might be a bit windy today. It's probably a bit too windy for this mission, but it's what's happening. So we just got to take what we can get. Tomorrow's going to be raining, so today was sort of a chance to do this. So anyway, let's go. Looks like an old schoolhouse, doesn't it? Big Genkan there. Look at the old windows. Very cool. Get away from this busy road. Konnichiwa. So guys, people often ask on our videos, where was this, where's that place, where's that place? First point probably would be that usually when we go to places like this is just normal. There's nothing really unique about anything that you're seeing in these videos. It's just, this is what it's like. When you get outside the city in Japan, this is what it's like. So if you want to see scenery like this, pretty much go outside any city in Japan out into the countryside and this is what you'll see. So for that reason, there's not a lot of point in showing you exactly where it is or showing you on a map or something. The other reason is, again, this comes back to privacy again. Those of you who haven't seen it yet, I'll post in the comment section or in the description of this video, I'll post a link to the Stop Stalking Us video. It's not meant to offend anybody. It's just meant to explain our position on privacy and that sort of stuff. So of course, sometimes we go to a castle or something, we'll usually tell you where the castle is because some people might want to visit it, and we've shown you some of the best castles in Japan. So usually we show you exactly where they are, and quite often we'll put a page on our English Family Directory with a link under the video so you can get more details on places like that, castles and places like that. But places like this, look at the mulberries. It's obviously mulberry season. probably going to go home with a big red streak up my back from all the mulberries being flicked off the tyres. Interesting. So yeah, nothing you're going to see in any of these riding videos is particularly unique. You'll see it anywhere you go, really. But as we've always said over the years, you know, if you want to see real Japan, I mean, obviously the cities are real Japan too. We got in trouble once for saying that Tokyo isn't Japan. The point was that Tokyo's a bit unique, you know, it's a bit different from the rest of Japan. So some people come to Japan and only see Tokyo, go away with the impression that that's what Japan is. And it really isn't. Tokyo's just a part of what Japan is. Look at that place. Ha. We'll have to have a closer look at that, won't we? Just look at it across the rice field though. There's a scene. That's a Japan scene, see? Now again, Tokyo is Japan too. And those scenes you see of Shibuya or Shinjuku and all those other places in Tokyo, obviously, yeah, that is Japan. But some people come here and spend a long time here and that's pretty much all they see. They're sort of missing out on stuff, aren't they? What a gem. That's a gem, isn't it? Huh. That'll be a tractor in there. It is a tractor in there, covered with the blue tarp. So it probably would have been a house originally, you know, and then sometime in the past, they've built a new house somewhere else, and they've just kept this for storing their stuff. What a gem. What a gem. So old. Huh. On the other hand, this one, so when this fell down, he must have built that brick one. Look at that. Wow. That's old. Nature took that one back, didn't it? So to hold that roof, there would have been a tiled roof and it's collapsed inside. That's what happens. You can actually see some tiles in there. These things are solid and will last forever if they're maintained, but once that water gets in the roof, once the water gets under the tiles or into the walls, the whole thing falls apart because the mud gets wet, the wood rots, and then it all collapses because the roofs are really heavy. So if they're maintained, and that's often why, sadly, we see them sheeted with the corrugated iron, is that they know that they need to keep the water out, because once the water gets in, it's the end of the story. So the easiest solution, sadly, the easiest solution is to sheet them with the corrugated iron, because that stuff's really cheap. It's not iron, actually, it's tin, isn't it? Corrugated tin. You know, you buy that stuff really cheaply and just sheet the walls, and that'll protect the walls and stop the rain getting in and extend the life of the building. So it works, but it's sort of sad because they just don't look the same with the corrugated tin walls, do they? Ah, look at the big pipe. Look at that big pipe. It's upside down, obviously, isn't it? There's that line again, you know, between the fields and the houses. The houses tend to all be in close together, relatively. In some countries, you know, the farmer would have his house out in the middle of his fields, out on his own somewhere, but here they tend to put all the houses together. So out in the countryside, and yet the houses will end up a few metres from each other because they're sort of all back in huddled together. Here's a good example. This one on the left here. You can see at the back it's got where the wood walls are, those tiles on the top are old. And then the building behind that, those tiles are more new. You can just sort of see by the texture of them or the colour of them or something. And then the old wooden walls are original, and then on the right we've got the corrugated tin walls. Interesting smells today. Lots of burning smells from the farmers burning off. Little sake jugs. The big ones are water pipes and the other ones are sake jugs. Everywhere. They use them for, around here they're really common, so they use them for retaining walls and foundations for houses and all sorts of things. In another country they'd probably sell for good money, those things. So one new house in amongst all old ones. one of those fire systems there, this big concrete thing. Full of water, big water system. So these old places, the old houses out in the country tend to have sort of what some people would call compounds. So they tend to have a bunch of buildings surrounding sort of like a central open area with one entrance point. So in this case, so buildings to the left, buildings to the right, and building in the middle, and that's the entry point. So that design's really, really common with the old country houses. So they have, like that one over there is the same, the big house, that's the main house, and then behind it, that smaller building, that's a storehouse, an old kura, they put windows in. That's fairly classic design for country. Probably because they've got more space, but also because they need to be more self-sufficient. They need places to store their gardening things, their farming things, and stock their food, you know, rice and stuff. Be more self-sufficient. There's another example. That's another style, same sort of thing. And this one over here is the same. Oh, there's a kura. See on the right there, the black and white one, that's a storehouse, that's a kura. It's been sheeted, been covered with tin. But same sort of thing, you drive in and then there's a bunch of buildings in there. Our old farmhouse is a little bit like that too, a little bit. Oh, this wall. Oh. Outside toilet. Lots of these places still have outside toilets. Our next door neighbour still has an outside toilet. There's the old house at the back, and then this here to the left is a storehouse. Actually looks like the roof's collapsed. See, the roof's collapsed in on that one. That would have been the bathhouse. See this thing here? That thing there. That's usually where they used to empty the toilet from, or where they used to stoke the fire for the bath. Probably the toilet in this case. They used to have a wooden box. We've actually got Search Toilet Museum on our channel page. We've got a really old video that shows how the old toilet worked with a box of sand under the toilet. There's another one. Everything you can see there's one house, one complex. And that little thing with the little roof there's a well that would have had a hand pump on it in the old days, but it's now got an electric pump on it. You guys have actually seen this place before, this one here, on the Castles and Old Buildings playlist, this shrine. Again, probably the best building in this little group of buildings is the Kura, is the storehouse. Check it out. Isn't that a gem? That's so original. That's just been maintained. They've maintained that since it was built, and the end result is super original. Excellent, isn't it? Actually, that roof does look a bit new. Maybe the roof's been replaced at some point. Fabulous, isn't it? Oh, look at this old building here with the old signs on it. Look. You can see like the top of the Singer sewing machine. Bit of high-tech technology there. It's cool, isn't it? Little community hall, very small one, and little public notices out the front here. Oh, there's a good one. Look at this one. There we go. Small entrance. Modelled on the old style. They used to do that for security, of course. Small entrance surrounded by buildings. New house, and then this one, look at this one. Half of it's hidden behind the brick wall. But then there's this, look at this. Isn't that a classic? That's a peach, isn't it? Probably some sort of business at some stage. There's a hole above the door. That's probably a chimney. It could have been some sort of blacksmithing type shop. Looks like it, with the big barn type doors and the hole for the chimney coming out the window. That's probably what it was. Some sort of business. Can't see through that glass, that's for sure. Nope. Shutters are closed. Oh, what a classic. Alright, so guys, that's what I wanted to show you today. After this, it's sort of going to be just sort of heading for home a bit. Just trying to decide which way to go. so there's probably not going to be much more interesting to see. So I'll say more videos coming soon, but I'll leave the camera on. A couple of crazy people stayed with us for the whole hour and 11 minutes for the last riding video, so those two people might stick through to the end of this one. But can't promise you there'll be anything interesting to see. That was sort of, that little stretch was sort of the bit I wanted to show you today. The rest of it's pretty sort of day to day. Just trying to go in a straight line without going on the main road, because it's not real wide and the cars go too fast. So sort of interesting. Notice riding a bike you tend to navigate more like a pilot does. Not worrying about the road so much as the direction you want to go. If you can. Definitely nicer in the rice fields than it is on the main road, isn't it? Better for the breathing too. Again, navigating like a pilot here. Oh, I don't know. I don't know, does that go right through? Yep. Oops, hello. Whoa, jeez. Ah! Jeez. Couldn't do that one on the car. Ugh. So that's a karaoke bar on the right. Karaoke. That's a closed convenience store on the right. This is a karaoke bar. Barn. So guys, they've extended the state of emergency in Japan for another few weeks for Tokyo and a bunch of other prefectures. But some of the Olympic athletes have started to arrive to get ready. So at the same time they're telling us that we shouldn't hang out in groups, they got whole teams coming, started arriving from other countries, who are obviously going to be hanging out very closely together. So it's pretty funny watching the news and seeing, on the one hand, everyone stay home and the restaurants and bars are closed and everybody has to stay home and hide. But at the same time, groups of foreigners arriving in big groups. The irony continues. The contradictions and paradoxes continue. That's a strong wind. All the flowers. Beautiful. Oops. Try the other side. I don't know if you guys noticed that big American car just go past. But when they sell those big American cars in Japan, they tell the drivers that they must wear a baseball cap on backwards. It's a rule. Anytime you see a big American car in Japan, there'll be a little guy with his hat on backwards driving it. It's a rule. Oh, this is a hill, guys. Alright, the rest of this video is just going to be old guy puffing on a bike, okay? Nothing to see here. Just old guy puffing on a bike. Alright, that's enough of that. I think we need to have old guy puffing and pushing a bike for a while. Enough of that riding up a hill shit. Alright, today's code word for you people who have too much free time is going to be puffing. Puffing is the code word for today, to let us all know that you have too much free time. Oh, stop and look at this. See this? They're going to build something there, right? They're preparing it to build something. And usually when you see that bamboo and string thing, it's a ceremonial Shinto thing. And usually they'll follow it up with some sort of ceremony. Shinto guy comes and blesses it. It seems a little bit small for a house, but that's usually what it is. The next thing you'll see appear sometimes is a little, like a tent, just the sort of the roof of a tent, and some chairs, and maybe a little table. And then you'll drive past another day and there'll be a Shinto priest and a bunch of people sitting on the chairs, and he'll be doing a ceremony blessing the site. So they often do that before they build a new house or a new business or something like that, build a new building. That one seems a bit small, but could be a small house. They do come that small. Must leave them scratching their heads, some of them drive past, because I mentioned to you guys before, I've been told before by old people around here that I'm the first foreigner they've ever seen face to face. So there'd be people, some of these old guys riding past would be seeing me pushing my bike in the middle of the rice field, would be thinking the same thing. Wow, look, a foreigner. Haven't seen one of them before. Except on TV. That's a true story. Quite often they'll tell you that. I've only seen foreigners on TV. That's because we're in the countryside, of course. People in Tokyo are different. Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka. After you've lived here long enough, you start to get a bit the same. If I see a foreigner out in the countryside, I spin out too. There's a foreigner. Or if I go to somewhere like Kyoto's amazing. Probably not so much at the moment because the place is locked down. The country isn't letting foreigners in, but usually if you go to Kyoto, there's foreigners everywhere, and that spins me out. I get out of the train station there and go, whoa, foreigners all over the place. Just go up this way. Just trying to avoid the busier roads. They're not that busy. Everything's relative, isn't it? Oh, relative to where some of you guys might be, what I'm calling busy probably isn't busy. But when you compare it to this little road, two old guys driving their K-trucks is busy compared to this road, isn't it? Some of you might recognise that building. This is where we finished the last video. Let's finish it with the flowers, look. All the different colours, look. Big yellow one, pink ones, purple ones, butterflies. I hope Stephen's watching this. Are you watching this, Stephen? Stephen loves these flowers, he does. No, he doesn't. Stephen says, more bloody flowers. We're going to leave it here, guys. Okay. So check out the videos I talked about. The shrine one, the old schoolhouse one, the stop stalking us one. It's not supposed to offend anybody, that one. It's just supposed to explain our point of view. Anyway, that was that. More videos coming soon.